with individuals in our community through the use of real-life clinical cases in which some identifying information has been altered in order to protect the identity of the clients. I'll start by sharing with you an ominous email that I received from a 19-year-old Muslim male who sought counseling a few months ago. In the email, he went into detail about some of the recent losses he had experienced, such as the death of his father to COVID-19, learning that his younger brother was battling a terminal illness, and failing in school because with his father no longer around to pay the rent, he took that financial responsibility upon himself so that he, his mother, and brother would not end up homeless. All of these struggles seemed to creep up on this family within 2 years after moving to the US from another country. According to him, he and his family had always followed the rules and done things by the book, whether it was pertaining to a legal or religious matter. So for him and his family to have experienced so much hardship, it caused him to question his religious commitment to the Deen of Islam. He described symptoms of a deep depression, in which he began to question everything he once believed was true. He wondered why Allah would allow such awful things to happen to his family after they had done everything right. And for him, the only logical conclusion was that either Allah had been unjust and he no longer wanted to be a part of this unjust religion, or that he should just stop questioning everything and deal with the agony of his life. Because, and this is a quote from the email he sent me, "I know exactly what I have to do to end this agony forever. I may never have the opportunity to speak to you, so I'm glad someone will know how I felt." As soon as I read these last two sentences in his email, I immediately knew what he was implying. He was planning to end his life. I immediately called him, and upon learning I was calling from IKNA Relief, his response was that of disbelief. He told me that he had sent the same email to several counselors and religious individuals and organizations, and no one had responded to him, and he became even more hopeless. So when he reached out to IKNA Relief as a last-ditch effort and actually got a response, he almost didn't believe it. In his soft-spoken and dejected voice, he revealed that that morning he had went out and bought a large bottle of over-the-counter painkillers and had planned with full intention to overdose that night. He had already written a suicide note to his mother and brother so that they would not blame themselves, and he asked for their forgiveness in that letter. Alhamdulillah, he did not commit suicide that night. And it was because he made one last attempt to reach out for help from IKNA Relief. After months of counseling and treatment from me, as well as religious counseling from an imam affiliated with IKNA Relief, the client learned how his hardships had led to the emergence of mental health symptoms, such as depression and suicidal thoughts. And he learned healthy coping mechanisms to deal with his disorder. As we headed for the end of a successful counseling process, I asked him what was the #1 benefit he believed that he gained out of the counseling process, and his response was, "My life and my deen." By allowing me to get free faith-based counseling, IKNA Relief saved me from myself. IKNA Relief saved my mother from losing her child and allowed my little brother to continue to have a big brother that he can look up to. I wish I could say that this was a rare case, but the truth is that such cases are becoming more and more common. As a mental health counselor who has been working predominantly with the Muslim population, I feel it is imperative for me to inform you that the Muslim community is currently in a state of crisis. Today, I will discuss two community-wide issues that are in urgent need of our attention. And those two issues are the youth and trauma. We have to make our youth a priority. As you all just heard one example, and we get so caught up with materialistic gain that we forget what is most important for us in our society, and that's our youth. Today's youth is filled with so much despair that they are considering suicide to end that despair. And we've heard countless stories on the youth, even of Muslim youth, who have actually committed suicide. Our youth is struggling. They are struggling with their Islamic identities and are becoming atheists. They are struggling with their sexual orientations and gender identities. They are struggling with mental health problems that their parents do not understand. They are resorting to the use of illegal drugs to help reduce their mental health distress. You may be hearing some of these problems and think to yourself, these don't sound like the problems of Muslims. They sound like the problems of non-Muslims. But with each subsequent client who reaches out to me for counseling, I am more and more strengthened in my belief that Muslims are not immune to the problems that non-Muslims face. My work with the youth is collaborative. I work with individuals one-on-one, and where appropriate, parents are asked to participate in the counseling process. One of the most common misconceptions that I constantly come across from parents are from parents who believe that as long as they feed and shelter their children, then their job is complete. And so they don't understand why the child is depressed or suicidal or doubting the basic principles of Islam. Yes, they may have food and a roof over their heads, but in some way, they have been emotionally neglected. When I provide culturally conscious psychoeducation to parents and explain this to them, many of them are either offended or angry or sad and disheartened. Because to them, they truly believe that they did what they were supposed to do. And so I emphasize to them that counseling is not about the blame game, it's not about pointing fingers, because I recognize that parents are also human beings and they've endured their own hardships. Many of them are immigrants who sacrificed and suffered so that their children could have a better future. Many of them come from backgrounds where mental health was intensely stigmatized, and so they are less likely to want to recognize any mental health problems in their children. And many of the parents have experienced various other forms of trauma in their lives and struggle with their own mental health. Much of our youth continues to struggle because parents would rather suffer than have a child with a mental health diagnosis, because the stigma of mental health is so strong and so scary that parents feel ashamed in getting help for their kids. And so when they feel shame, they're less likely to reach out for help. I teach the parents that children, when they're mentally healthy, they are able to reach developmental and emotional milestones. They have positive social skills, they keep good company, and they learn healthy ways to cope with life's problems. One of the most important ways we can strengthen the mental health of our children is by recognizing when they need support for their mental health and by reaching out to counselors who are trained. So this is the type of work that I do with the youth and their parents on an individual level. So let me share with you another example of an actual client I work with. Last year, I received an email from a single Muslim mother who told me she was desperate to get help from a Muslim female counselor for her 18-year-old daughter. The mother told me that she had caught her daughter sending inappropriate messages to a boy that she met online. She thought taking away the daughter's phone and laptop would solve the problem, but it did not. The daughter began to sneak into the mother's room and use the phone during the night when the mom was asleep, and she would put it back before the mom woke up. Eventually, the mom found out what she was doing, and she decided to tighten the reins on her daughter and began to punish her even more. The mom no longer allowed her to visit her friends or cousins or to socialize at all, hoping that it would have some sort of positive impact on her daughter. The daughter actually began to engage in substance abuse, and she threatened to kill herself. So the mom's actions had a totally opposite effect than what she had intended. They lived in a tight-knit Muslim community where people began to see that there was a serious problem within their family. And instead of trying to help, they gossiped and they passed judgment on the family, which was why the mom was initially resistant to get counseling for her daughter in the first place. But the mom was so disgusted and so ashamed by her daughter and couldn't understand how things had gotten this bad, especially since she sent her daughter to an Islamic school and believed that it would be enough to help keep her daughter modest and to develop a character according to our deen. Part of her wanted to just disown her daughter completely, but another part of her, the nurturing and protective maternal part, told her that rather than give up on your daughter, you should seek help. And I was so glad that she did, because although it took months of intensive work with the daughter and the mother, we reached a successful point in the counseling journey where the mom learned effective parenting techniques focused on how to discipline Muslim children in the American society. Both of them realized the impact of not addressing the absence of the father. They learned how to recognize and communicate their emotions and how to resolve conflicts amongst each other. Okay. The second most prevalent mental health issue in the Muslim community is trauma. Trauma can occur in many forms, but for now, I will discuss trauma in the form of domestic abuse, specifically as it relates to the women I counsel in IKNA Relief's transitional home. I'll share another example with you today. I counseled a Muslim woman and her children who had been abandoned by her husband in a foreign country. To make matters worse, he withheld her and her children's immigration documents so that they could not return to the US. It took months for them to get duplicate documents, but once they finally did and returned to the US, the first thing she did was reach out to that husband whom she had not been able to contact since he abandoned them. She finally got in touch with him with the intention of forgiving him and moving forward in their lives for the sake of their children. He outright dismissed her, and she wasn't able to get in touch with him afterward. During our sessions together, I learned that at the time, the sister was in disbelief because as far as she knew, there were no serious problems in their marriage, so how could he just abandon them like that? I helped her to recognize that there were some major red flags indicating the presence of domestic abuse, such as physical violence, which occurred in front of the kids. The husband's degrading comments about her looks and her weight, his tendency to undermine her intellect, his tendency to downplay anything positive she did for him, no matter how hard she tried, and his withholding of money that she needed to run her household. After realizing this, she recognized she had been a victim of domestic abuse. She recognized that the symptoms of her depression and anxiety were a result of how she had been mistreated. She learned how to utilize healthy coping mechanisms in stressful moments, and she rebuilt her sense of identity to eventually secure employment and housing for herself and her children. Unfortunately, this is not a unique case, again, as many of the women at our transitional house have similar stories of trauma and abandonment by those who they loved and trusted. But what they get at IKNA Relief is something they haven't experienced in a long time, which is hope and support. The women and children in our transitional home are of different religions, cultures, races, and educational levels. But in the time I spent counseling these women, there is one factor that almost all of them have in common, and that is domestic abuse. Many people believe domestic abuse is limited to physical violence. However, domestic abuse also encompasses verbal abuse, in which someone is verbally insulted or degraded. It can include emotional abuse, in which someone is made to feel unworthy or unloved. And it can even include financial abuse, in which money and other essential resources are withheld in an effort to control the woman. By the time these women and children reach out to the transitional home for help so they don't have to sleep on the streets, many of them have reached what they describe as a feeling of hitting rock bottom. And this is because they feel so low and so small. They have endured various forms of abuse for many years and have finally taken the courageous step to walk away. Walk away from their abusers, or they've been kicked out by the abusers. And when they needed someone to hold their hand and lift them out of that rock bottom, IKNA Relief Muslim Family Services was there to give them that helping hand and pull them out. Not only do we provide them with a safe, warm, and comfortable dwelling, free of fear, not only do we provide them with the physical necessities of survival, such as clothing, food, and supplies, but we also provide them with the resources that they need to be self-sufficient and independent, such as opportunities to further their education and attend job trainings to secure employment and housing. And of course, we provide them with counseling, because undoubtedly, when these women have endured the physical and mental pain of trauma, it leaves an emotional wound. They experience low self-esteem, intense self-doubt, feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness, depression, suicidal thoughts, and so much fear. They fear everybody, even the people who are trying to help them. They fear the world, they fear the future. Through counseling, they learn about their mental health disorders. They learn strategies to set boundaries with people so that they can recognize abuse. They learn healthy ways to cope with stress and anxiety, and they become aware of and learn to challenge their own cognitive obstacles in reaching their goals. All of this uplifts and empowers the women so that they can form a stronger sense of identity and they have the mental tools that they need to progress and deal with life's challenges. We are proud to share with you that IKNA Relief is in the process of developing several programs for 2022. The first one is a brand new program dedicated to raising awareness of domestic abuse to help the transitional housing clients, the victims, and the community in which we will work, specifically with victims of domestic abuse, providing them with individual counseling, group counseling, workshops, and financial assistance to help them with costs related to legal issues, such as anything related to immigration. We are also developing another brand new program that will help us promote discussions of stereotypes in the community and promote cross-cultural conversations. In addition, we are forming alliances with other nonprofits, such as the International Rescue Committee, to assist Afghani refugees with the struggles of adjusting to life in the US, which comes with its own set of mental health struggles. We also work with organizations to provide supplies and counseling services to victims of natural and man-made disasters, such as the recent and tragic fire in the Bronx that many of you may have heard of. Currently, one of ICNA Relief's biggest struggles in the Muslim family services is limited resources, namely a lack of licensed clinical counselors. While we are truly grateful for the help and wisdom of religious counselors and imams, we recognize that in order to have the greatest impact in the community, the religious counselors and the clinical counselors must work together to tackle society's crises. So one of our goals for this year is to expand our staff of clinical counselors with those who speak different languages to provide counseling to our diverse, vulnerable community. As our staff hopefully grows, so will our ability to provide workshops and learning opportunities, similarly to the ones that we're working on now, and even more. For example, we plan to provide mental health first aid workshops that will teach attendees how to recognize signs and symptoms of mental distress and what to do in the event of a crisis to stabilize someone who's struggling and then help direct them toward a professional who's licensed and trained to help. In addition, counselors will be able to utilize resources to acquire further certifications and gain expertise so that we can work with a wide variety of clients. So if you or your child or your family member or your friend or anyone in your life has ever struggled with something, but there was difficulty finding someone to help, rest assured that with a clinical counselor, you have someone with knowledge, experience, and an unbiased perspective to help them. So by now, I hope you can all agree that counseling is a crucial service for our community. Just like you would visit your doctor if you have a physical pain in your body, you can speak to a counselor to help you resolve mental health struggles. ICNA Relief is here for you and available to provide the community with what it needs, whether it's counseling or more workshops. But ICNA Relief alone cannot provide this crucial service without your help. It is with your generosity and support that we can continue to provide this service and work towards shifting the paradigm of mental health in the Muslim society. Our imams are some of the most trusted and revered public figures, and so they are often the first responders in a time of need. And it is with their help and guidance that many of us are able to get help. Once in a while, the imams may deal with a problem that requires extra attention from a clinical counselor. And so we can work together by highlighting our strengths so that we can help the community from all angles. So please, strengthen our ability to continue this vital work. Jazakallah khair.
Takbir, takbir, takbir. My respected brothers and sisters, subhanAllah, what you have just witnessed is just not only talks, but the actual work of what we have been doing locally here in New York. Just to give you an overview of what our sister Amina Bhutto was talking about, ICNA Relief has over 24 women transitional house and domestic violence shelter all across the United States. Is the only Muslim social service organization in North America that provides this type of service to many women and women with children and women who are in distress. ICNA Relief in 2000, takbir. And this is where your money and your hard work earned money that you have donated to ICNA Relief. This is how it's been responsibly used into these programs, helping women with children, helping those that are in need in the time that they need it the most. And subhanAllah, just to let you know what we have done in 2021 in our women transitional house. In 2021, the number of women transitional home, of course, it's 24 in 23 cities across the U.S. Total housing capacity is about 163 beds. Total housing capacity of nights number of nights that was spent in these houses was over 59,495 nights. Number of nights served since the inception of this program is over 21,000 nights we have served sisters. This could have been any one of our daughters, our mother, any of our family members. And this is where IKNA Relief stands in the gap to help fill that gap. Total clients served last year was over 246 adults. Children was over 188 children. These are mothers with children. Otherwise, if IKNA Relief did not have this program, these were individuals who would have probably ended up in shelters and would have probably ended up sleeping in the streets in the night. Just to give you a little overview of the counseling session that our dear sister was talking about, IKNA Relief has served over 5,092 clients in 2021. Over 5,092 clients. Total counseling service hour was over 16,000 hours. We have served all across the United States in 8 different cities and 13 different locations. A total value of over $639,000. And you have only seen just a droplet in the ocean tonight of what is taking place locally in your town, in your city, in our own backyard. My respected brothers and sisters, just to carry on with this program now, the next person I would like to introduce, who will be talking about the work and the mission of our IKNA sisters. And just to let you know, IKNA Relief would have never been here without the help of our IKNA chapters. And our IKNA sister wing plays a crucial role when it comes to the effort of IKNA Relief serving humanity in the United States of America. Just as an introduction, Dr. Sabiha Bandagi, she is a member of the Westbury subchapter of the IKNA sister wings. She joined IKNA about 10 years ago and has been an active member since. She was an English department in charge for Westbury unit for over 3 years, and currently IKNA Relief Borough in charge for past year and this year. She completed the Quran Tajweed course and is currently enrolled in the Fahim al-Quran class with the IKNA sisters. Dr. Bandagi has volunteered at various IKNA Relief activities such as community healthcare and Ramadan baskets preparation. The month of Ramadan is right around the corner. Dr. Sabiha Bandagi is an internist specialized in rheumatology, and she is the assistant professor of medicine at ICNA School of Medicine, I hope I pronounced it right, an attending physician at Health and Hospital in Queens. Without any further ado, help me welcome our dear Dr. Sabiha Bandagi. Takbir! Takbir! Takbir!
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilma, Rabbana zidna ilma, Rabbana zidna ilma. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. I want to thank IKNA Relief for giving us a chance to talk about IKNA sisters today in this beautiful gathering. Alhamdulillah, we are gathering here again after 2 years. It was exactly 2 years back, as of yesterday, that pandemic was declared, and we had this beautiful gathering in 2020, and we had to skip it last year. I want to also thank the IKNA sisters leadership to give me the chance to introduce IKNA sisters today at this beautiful gathering. So, IKNA Sisters is a division of IKNA which strives to provide Islamic education and training to women of all races and backgrounds. This division of IKNA was established in the year 1978. So we have multiple departments within our IKNA Sisters. Here, IKNA Sisters have many roles in different departments, such as outreach in English and Urdu. The goal of this department is to work on both individual and collective methods of spreading the message of Islam. Invite all to the way of your Lord with wisdom and kind advice, and only debate with them in the best manner. Surely your Lord alone knows best who has strayed from his way and who is rightly guided. Along with the outreach department, we have the Tarbiya department, and the Tarbiya department works for the betterment of and educating the members, the IKNA sisters. The outreach department is doing individual and collective efforts. For example, neighbor nets. So, neighbor nets are the local halqas that we conduct within our sub-chapters, where we educate and have educational sessions with the local community sisters. We also do the journey to the Quran, which we have all started in our sub-chapters. We start few weeks before the beginning of Ramadan. And we have about 16 journey to the Quran and 16 welcome Ramadan programs. And we also, as the brother just said, contribute with the relief efforts through IKNA Relief with the help of IKNA, with the help helping the brothers. The other department that IKNA Sisters run is MCNA, which is the Muslim Children of North America. Currently we have about 14 MCNA units in its sub-chapters. MCNA seeks to educate the young leaders of tomorrow. It helps to instill confidence about Islam in the hearts of the youth. It helps the youth to be well behaved to their understanding of Islamic etiquette. MCNA nurtures Muslim children by conducting weekly classes, speech and essay competitions, prime time, outreach activity, and encourages leadership skills. The other department we have is the Islam Sisters. The mission of this department is to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by establishing his deen in this land through giving dawah. Islam is part of our outreach program. Its purpose is to educate generally non-Muslims and exclusively those who are interested in learning about Islam. The sisters coordinate this also with the brothers for many projects as well. The next department is the relief department. This department raises funds for the poor. We work along with the brothers again in this department. We participate in the soup kitchens. In Long Island, we were going to the Mary Brennan Inn soup kitchen in Hempstead, not far from here. But we had to stop because of the pandemic, and inshallah, we might start going back there again soon. There is also an active soup kitchen currently happening in Brooklyn. The sisters in Brooklyn are attending and participating in these soup kitchen activities. We also conduct other relief work with the help of brothers in this department. The next program that is run by IKNA Sisters is the City Institute. It has two main branches currently, one in Jamaica and one in Long Island, and both teach Quran and Ahadith. This year, the institute will continue with the Quran classes and inshallah complete that. Another part of IKNA Sisters help with the matrimonial services. IKNA Sisters offers matrimonial services as well. The in charge of this department is Sister Seema Khan. Her number is listed there. And this department helps seeking single Muslims to find appropriate spouses. And there is a live event that will be happening in October, inshallah. So currently, with our journey through the Quran, we have also started a Quran campaign. This is a nationally running campaign. All the sub-chapters in all different states is running this campaign. This is another source of spreading dawah to the others. So this is done with the members and the non-members, basically the halaqah attendees. So alhamdulillah, it just started last week, and inshallah we plan to continue that. This is something just doing it during the Ramadan, during this Ramadan. My final remarks are IKNA Sisters is showing their best to contribute to the Muslim community with the different departments and youth organizations. We hope to raise the Muslim leaders of tomorrow. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our efforts and purify our intentions. Inshallah, Ameen. I thank the IKNA Sister New York leadership for making these beautiful slides for me. And there is a small 4.5 minutes video montage that my daughter prepared, so that would run now, inshallah. I think I covered pretty much everything. One more thing with the institute is that online classes. IKNA Sisters also conduct Fahmul Quran classes, of which I am currently a student, and we go over details of tafsir, root words, and grammar. And each batch completes the complete Quran tafsir with root words. And, alhamdulillah, it takes about 4 to 5 years. And students of these classes become knowledgeable Muslims, inspire teachers, and upstanding members of the Muslim society. That's the aim of the program. So, inshallah, Jazakallah khairan again for giving this opportunity. There is a video montage, I think. Yeah.
You know, my respected brothers and sisters, I know a lot of people are around. You guys are welcoming each other, but at the same time, let's give the respect to the, to the videos and the speakers, inshallah ta'ala. So those of you who are standing, we kindly ask that you take your seats, so that way, we can carry on with the program. If there's anything that I would like to mention tonight, is the next segment that I would like for everyone to see, is what we have been doing and hear in review of what we have been doing locally here in New York City. And, if there's an ayah that I can mention from the Quran that talks about what have happened, what have took place, but at the same time bring out the best in us, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Imran, in chapter 3, verse 110, He says, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وتؤمنون بالله, that you are the best community ever raised for humanity, and you encourage good and forbid evil and believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what IKNA Relief has been doing. So let's go ahead and roll the 2021 year in review and what had happened and what took place in the Bronx fire and some of the things that we have helped these individuals with that have been devastated with that fire, inshallah.
On Sunday, January 9, 2022, the Bronx community of Florida heights was struck with a horrific tragedy that claimed the life of at least 17 people, including 8 children. 32 people were hospitalized with serious injuries. The residents consist of the largely Ghanaian Muslims who settled in the area. IKNA staff and volunteers were instrumental in helping with the funeral arrangements for the victims of the Bronx fire. IKNA fulfilled the duties towards the deceased by going above and beyond to make sure the thousands braved the frigid 18-degree temperature to attend the Janazah funeral prayer. We provided hot breakfast including coffee, fresh fruits, and made sure everyone received masks. IKNA also brought their mobile clinic, which conducted COVID-19 rapid testing to ensure everyone is safe and protected at the Janazah funeral service. Because of the frigid temperature, IKNA also distributed gloves, scarves, hoodies, mittens, and more to the thousands who have attended the funeral service. IKNA has been supporting Bronx fire survivors for over a week now, and we plan to continue looking after all their needs. Our staff and volunteers have constantly been distributing essential items. We have distributed hundreds of blankets, non-perishable food products, prayer rugs, hijab, hygiene kits, and household items to those with family. IKNA thank you for all the contributions and donations which poured in from all over the United States. We thank you for trusting IKNA with your donation. We will continue to serve with sincerity, sacrifice, and service towards our fellow humanity.
Jazakallah khair. Barakallahu feek for running that video. My respected brothers and sisters, I have someone special before I introduce our next speaker, inshallah. I have someone special, a special guest amongst us tonight that drove all the way from Maryland. Our ICNA president, Dr. Mohsen Ansari, is here tonight with us. And, it's a pleasure always to see him here. So I would like to invite him on the stage to say a few words, inshallah, words of encouragement and a few nasiha. Takbir.
billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Coming here, when you guys all were coming down from your cars, all of you please pay attention to this question which I'm going to pose in front of you. How cold was it? It was really cold, right? And windy. And you did not want to spend an extra second outside. You rushed into the lobby of the hotel, right? Sir. Imagine hundreds and thousands of people who are homeless, living in the streets in these conditions, and they do not have a lobby to rush in and eat food which you are eating right now. And imagine those volunteers who wear this badge of IKNA release, helping them on daily basis in these rough conditions in Manhattan to San Francisco, from Florida to Mississippi. All these IKNA relief volunteers, when you would not like to spend an extra second standing hours feeding hot food to these homeless people. Have you ever noticed that effort? How many of you, it's very dark, I don't know how many hands I would see. How many of you have ever visited a shelter home or have met a sister who is living in a shelter home personally? Raise your hands. Only a handful of you, including our beloved Sheikh, Saraj Wahaj. Just go and talk to those sisters and the kids they carry. My brothers and sisters, each one of those thousands and thousands of, we started this journey in 2005, the first shelter home right here in Queens. And since then, 24 shelter homes, hundreds and hundreds of sisters coming. When they call us at 2 a.m., they are kicked out of their home. They are a victim of abuse. They have a small child with them. Where will they go? They call Mavis Siddiqui. They call Arshad Jamal. They call the IKNA Relief Brothers that we need your help. My brothers and sisters, I was just a few months back, there was a disaster in Dallas. You don't even remember probably. Many of us don't remember when disasters come and go. IKNA Relief Brothers asked me to, Mr. President, Amir Saab, come and help us. We are gutting the houses, we are cutting the trees, we are bringing the stuff back out of their houses. I went there, met a gentleman, a white Caucasian male, and his son. The disaster struck them when they did not expect. They told us they had a home insurance just 3 months before this happened. But because of the COVID and hardships, they could not maintain their home insurance, and the disaster came and we could not see any house there. Everything was destroyed. IKNA Relief Brothers were right there the day when it happened, rebuilding their house. I can just keep going on and on and on to take your attention here. My brothers and sisters, all these victims whom we serve, deserve our thanks. They don't deserve to thank us. We want to thank them for giving us an opportunity to please our Creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will not take much time. IKNA National, being the president of IKNA National, I want to invite you to join the efforts which we do. You just heard what IKNA sisters do. IKNA is a one-stop shop. You are a da'i, go join Why Islam or Gain Peace. You are a youth, go and attend YM halaqas and study circles. You love to serve outside the country. There are 52 different countries where Helping Hand serves those poor and orphans and victims of wars. You want to serve domestically in downtowns, inner cities, go help IKNA Relief. You want to stand for the justice? IKNA social justice is the way to go. My brothers and sisters, this IKNA provides you a platform to do whatever good you want to do. I invite you, and the last thing before I leave, all of you right now, log on to www.ikna.org and you will see a new icon there. That icon says Friends of IKNA. Friends of IKNA. You all are friends of IKNA. Please join this effort in the goodness. Jazakallah khair. And before I leave, my convention chair, keep me straight. You know, we were so desperate to get back again to our convention. We left with 28,000 people who attended in 2019, Washington, D.C. We made a noise there. We made everybody think Muslims are strong in this country. IKNA convention, inshallah, with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is back. Register yourself to iknaconvention.org today, 28th to 30th of May, Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you there and we'll try to please our Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Takbir, takbir, takbir. Jazakallah, thank you so much, Dr. Muhsin Ansari. He drove all the way from Maryland just to be with us tonight in this snowstorm. And we are so grateful that he was here to share this wonderful message. And you know what? He was talking about all of the disasters. He's talking about all of the programs that IKNA Relief has been doing on the ground. I myself am the Southeast Director for IKNA Relief. I direct the 8 southern states. And as those of you who are here, disasters don't hit the northern states as much as it hits the southern states. And I will tell you something. I was there for 2 weeks when Hurricane Ida hit Louisiana. The next day or two after, Imam Rafiq, mashallah, it's so good to see our Imam. He came all the way from Tennessee to be with us here tonight. But you know what? He is the disaster response representative. He's the one that oversees the program. And when you go to places like Jean Lafitte, zero population Muslim. When you go to places like Lake Charles, Louisiana, those of you who remember 2020 Hurricane Laura. When you go to places like Pensacola, Florida, in some of these places, my brothers and sisters, is zero population Muslim. I met the town mayor, and you know what he said? He said, you are the first Muslim that we ever met in this town. He said, the only Muslim that I know is my doctor who is in New Orleans. But yet there is a truck that says, Muslims for Humanity, serving his people. Imam was there. The most genuine hug that I ever received in my life was the hug from that mayor. And his police chief came up to us. You remember that? The police chief came up to us. When you talk about an organization, da'wah in action, IKNA Relief, we just don't talk the talk. Imam, we walk the walk. And this is what we are sharing with you tonight. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He mentioned something. And I want you to understand this about righteousness. Surah Al-Baqarah verse 177. ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والسائلين وفي الرقاب وأقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة والموفون بعهدهم إذا عاهدوا والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون. What is righteousness? Righteousness is not turning your face towards the east or the west. But listen how Allah defines righteousness. Rather, it is righteousness are those who believe in Allah, the last day, the angels, the books, the prophets, who give charity out of their cherished wealth to whom? Their relatives, the orphan, the poor, the needy, the traveler, the beggars and the free captives, who establish prayer, who gives zakat, and keep their pledge that they make. This is righteousness. This is righteousness. When you give to IKNA relief, you're given to righteousness. Tonight we are showcasing what we have been doing in the United States of America. I have one video I would like for you to watch before we come back and introduce our keynote speaker, inshallah ta'ala, one of them. So if we can go ahead and run the Muslim Family Service video, inshallah. Barakallahu feek.
An overwhelming amount of struggles within our youth, a tremendous surge in mental health issues within the Muslim community here in the United States, and refugees coming in thousands from war-torn countries trying to resettle on this land are just some of the challenges we're witnessing around us at IKNA Relief USA. Attempting to combat these issues that are becoming the norm in our society is not only a heavy responsibility that IKNA Relief has carried on its shoulders, but it is also an obligation as Muslims that we must take on and struggle to fulfill before it continues to eat away at our social fabric. IKNA Relief has provided over $639,000 in counseling services in 2021, but we have a long way to go. With your help, over 5,200 clients were served with group counseling sessions nationwide with over 16,000 counseling hours. IKNA Relief Muslim Family Services has several wraparound programs which enable us to help resettled families, provide counseling, financial assistance, and emergency bill pay assistance, specialty pantries, car donations, and our most recently added FATE, Foster Advocacy Training and Education Program. In the Southeast, IKNA Relief has helped approximately 1,200 individuals through all of these services. With IKNA Relief Muslim Family Services Program, your zakat is going to those Muslim families that are in need. With your help, we can continue to make a difference in these families' lives and as many families as possible across our nation.
That's IKNA Relief. And that's IKNA Relief for you, my respected brothers and sisters. An organization that's been building the bridges and crossing rivers over the last few decades. When COVID happened, subhanAllah, a lot of people thought that, you know what? Why are we serving people in the United States of America? What's the use of serving people here? People have money. People have money. They have things here better than some of these countries. We should give our funds overseas. Not knowing locally in their own backyard that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test us with something that none of us have ever expected in our life. And donors who were donated to IKNA Relief became clients of IKNA Relief through 2020, 2021, when people have lost their jobs. And Allah opened our eyes, and this is what you're seeing. My respected brothers and sisters, tonight I would like to introduce one of our keynote speaker, a very dear brother, mashallah, Imam Khalid Latif, is deeply committed to interfaith dialogue and community service as an integral part of what it means to be Muslim in a modern multicultural world. Under his leadership, the Islamic Center of NYU became the first ever established Muslim student center as an institution of higher education in the United States. Imam Latif has not only managed to solidify the basis of a strong Muslim community at NYU that seeks to emphasize inclusiveness, and understanding of others without compromise, but has also worked tirelessly to foster dialogue with people of other faiths in order to clarify misconception and encourage multi-education. Through his work, Imam Latif has demonstrated not only an exceptional dedication to gaining and dismantling religious knowledge and values, but has begun to carve out a much-needed space for the young Muslims in the United States to celebrate their unique identity and have their voices heard in the large public sphere. In 2019, Imam Khalid Latif co-founded and became the board president of Pillars of Peace, a nonprofit established in order to address a gap in appropriate services for survivors of domestic and gender-based violence from all backgrounds and within the Muslim community. Without any further ado, help me welcome Imam Khalid Latif. Takbir!
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Him, we praise Him, we glorify Him. We beseech Him to send His choicest salutations upon His most beloved sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, and upon all those who choose to tread His path until the last day. It is said that on one occasion, Khabbab ibn Arat, a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he came to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and asked him, why don't you ask Allah to make dua for us? Why don't you ask Allah to help us? And this is at a time when the Muslims are facing a lot of persecution and hardship. And to give you an insight as to what this man used to experience, on one occasion, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he sees Khabbab ibn Arat and he is barebacked. He's not wearing a shirt. And he can see on the back of Khabbab that there are a lot of blisters and scars. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he asks him, how did this come to be? And Khabbab ibn Arat, he says that in the early days of Islam, when we were deeply persecuted, they used to lay me bareback over a bed of flaming coals. And I was made to stay there until the blood from my back extinguished the flames. He's now asking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why don't you make dua for us? Now Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he tells them to not say such things. It's not in contrast to the idea that the messenger is sent as a mercy to the world. Because you want to think very deeply now, here comes this man in a moment of struggle. And to give him affirmation, what would the Prophet have said to him instead? That you're right, Khabbab, we don't have what it takes. That this is too difficult, we're not going to be able to overcome it. Or is he going to give him insight that even if today is a challenge, tomorrow what comes, we're going to be able to build towards something that is better? What do you think Khabbab ibn Arat thought? when he saw 124,000 companions standing at the last khutbah of the Prophet of God. This man who at one point is in such a place of struggle, who has been persecuted in a way, may Allah protect us from ever being challenged to see where we lie in our faith in a manner that's even an iota like that. What do you think he's thinking when they go back into Mecca? And our Prophet, fully capable of being able to take retribution against anyone who casts him out, goes from house to house to house and says, "You are forgiven, you are forgiven, you are forgiven." In the moment it's hard when you're in a place of challenge. You don't know what to expect. And it's a critical time because you get to a space now where it is so important that the first person you speak to as you are in that struggle is the right person. They're going to give you support. Now, I want you to think about this in a couple of different ways. One, we come tonight to celebrate the accomplishment of IKNA relief, which you and I, if we are not proud, then our hearts are not in the right place. To understand that this is achievements that we are building upon. A recognition that as we now institutionalize deeply, that we are attached to something that is much bigger than us, than any individual in this room. The Quran, it speaks about purpose in a lot of different ways. Quite often we associate purpose to simply be about worship. And it says that, إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that you were made to worship. But it speaks about a lot of other reasons as to why we were created. It talks about istimar, the cultivation of civilization, umran, the building of civility and beauty on a societal level. It talks about ibtila, the need to have a growth mindset, that you can meet any challenge with resilience and perseverance, so that the I that you are today is not afraid to meet the person you can be tomorrow. It also talks about istikhlaf, to be khalifa. And we quite often understand that in the frame of being a caretaker, a steward of the earth, which it is. But you are also khalaf because you're what comes next. Then my 6-year-old son, Kareem, my 9-year-old daughter, Medina, they are khalaf to me, and I'm salaf to them. I'm what precedes them. And each one of us, we are a link in a chain that goes back generations and generations. A lineage that is not just our parents, but our parents' parents and their parents and their parents. And I don't know about you, but if I was to think back centuries ago, even just my grandfather or my great-grandfather, living in the realities of what is our collective and shared history. Colonization, imperialism, slavery. People that were a part of your heritage, they likely could not imagine that you would be sitting where you are right now, looking to build something like this. They might not be able to think that at some point in time, years from now, there's going to be Muslims sitting in New York. And not only have they built over 200 places to pray, not only have they successfully mobilized again and again and again to do things that others say cannot be done, but beyond building spaces for themselves, masjids that they go into, they're building transformative communities that allow for our hearts to be changed in such a way that you go in and pray and you come out and build. And today you should be proud that we built masjids, we built schools, and we're moving forward in building what is needed to serve the most underserved and underprivileged. Living our faith, not just in lip service, but doing what's right simply because it's the right thing to do. Do you know what it's like to be alone and have nobody to go and speak with? A young woman came to see me in my office. And she sat down to talk to me about the struggles of living in an abusive home. She was born with a facial deformity. She didn't have what would be considered quote unquote normal facial features. And as she grew up, she said that the Muslim community and Muslim school that she went to was filled with students, peers of hers, that would make fun of her since the time she was a child because of how she looked. She said, sometimes I would overhear teachers commenting on what I looked like, thinking I couldn't hear, but I heard. She said she grew up also in a house where her parents would constantly yell, scream, even strike her. She said when she got old enough, she decided to have a reconstructive surgery done in order to fix the facial disfigurement. When she made that decision, her parents, who were not supportive already, they didn't change suits, they just continued. You think you can get this surgery and it'll make you beautiful? She said that's what they said to me. You think that you can go to a doctor and they're going to take away your ugliness? You will never be beautiful. You will always be ugly. It's what she's hearing from her mother and her father. I will make things easy. She said she decided to go and have the surgery. And at that news, her father said to her that you should not do this, and if you don't do it, God will punish you. She went forth and she got the surgery done, and midway through there was complications, and they couldn't resuscitate her for some time. And when, alhamdulillah, they were able to actually resuscitate her, she said rather than being met with any type of support or comfort, the first thing she heard from her father was, "See, I told you Allah would punish you." She continued on now with the remainder of the surgery. And when she was done and the disfigurement had been fixed, she said, for the first time in my life, I looked in a mirror and I loved what I saw looking back at me. I felt strength, I felt courage, I felt as if I was somebody who could actually achieve something. And she said it was short-lived, because then my mother and my father, they came to me and they said, "You're still ugly as ever. You think you look beautiful? Nobody is going to ever think you are beautiful. Nobody is going to ever want to be with somebody like you." And she said to me, I realized at that moment just how alone I actually am. That when I was in that hospital, nobody from the masjid I went to came to see me. Nobody from the college that I was a part of and the MSA I went to came to see me. Nobody from that Islamic school I went to came to see me. And she said I was so grateful because those doctors and nurses and residents that were taking care of me, they gave me a different insight as to what it means to be supported, what it means to be cherished and loved. She said, I've never felt that in my life before. And then she said to me, I went home and I took a large metal can and then I started to strike my face with it. And she said, I hurt myself so badly, I was unconscious. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to the hospital where I was loved. And she said, when I woke up in the hospital bed, I was so dismayed. Because they told me I hadn't hurt anything. So it was okay for me to go home. So now I'm just waiting for Allah to take me from this world. Where's that young woman supposed to go? Who's supposed to think about her if not you and I? When When our sister was up here and she was talking about the amazing work she does, serving as a counselor, as a social worker in the shelters that IKNA Relief has built, I hope and pray to God that you are listening from your hearts. When you come to a place like this and you see statistics and you see numbers, you get lost in percentages. You can't forget that there's actually names attached to every one of these people. There's actual life experience and aspiration. Individuals who should not have to choose whether they can dream to have some type of contentment or not. And so when we can fill up a room in a blizzard, you better come here tonight to fulfill the intention by which you sought to be here for. And it should be upon each one of us to embrace the reality that we can build as much as we want on top of what we have already built, but nobody's going to build for us what we have to build for ourselves. This is not a deen that is rooted in anything egocentric. Nothing nafsi is going to get you into Jannah. And to move yourself in a place that recognizes that we can celebrate tonight an institution that 10 years from now, 100 years from now, is going to be that much bigger and that much stronger. A space and a sphere that we're not doing this to go and prove to anybody that we are good. You are good. You don't need anybody's permission to be Muslim. You don't need anybody to tell you that what you have is right. You just take it and you go and run with it and continue to do what's right, whether people love you or not, because that's what we do. The alternatives are not things that we want to just leave to chance. Because when people don't have spaces to go that provide holistic services, they have to make tough life decisions. A lot of you probably know the hadith where the three men get stuck in the cave, that the boulder comes to the face of the cave. They're stuck in the cave and they say now to each other, let's make dua to Allah by an act that we did for His sake, saying that, Ya Rabbi, if we did this for you, then move the rock out of the way. The second man in this tradition tells the story of a female relative that he had an attraction to. And he would solicit her, but she would not accept that solicitation. She had her dignity as a woman. The circumstance comes about now where they are stricken by famine. They're stricken by doubt. She needs support. She goes now to her relative, who years later is stuck in this cave, asking for assistance. And he says, I will give you money, but you have to spend the night with me. What can she do? She needs to be able to just live. So she agrees. And the hadith tells us that the night comes. And this man now who is in the cave, he is describing how it is that he's getting closer to her and closer to her and so close to her that she finally says to him, have fear of Allah, be mindful of your Lord. Do not approach me in an impermissible way. And he stops. And now when he's in the cave, he says, Ya Allah, if I stopped for your sake, then move the rock out of the way. And the rock, it moves. You want to understand two things. One, most men don't stop. And two, none of our teachers teach us this hadith saying, how could this woman decide to sell her body in exchange for food? Nobody sits down and says, what was she thinking? What kind of proposition was this? She had no choice. She was trying to live. Do you get what I'm saying? Islam is about reality. It's not about chasing after romanticized ideals or utopian-esque notions that are intangible. It's definitely not about living in a bubble of your own space with an insular mindset. But the purpose of good religion has to be understood. Good religion brings you to take on societal illnesses and inequities. If your practice of religion is not doing that for you, you want to be able to think about, well, what's the point of my religion? And there are right now thousands upon thousands of people in New York, our home, who right now are waiting for Muslims to step up to do that much more than what we are doing. And if it's not going to be people who believe in Allah and His Messenger, then who is it going to really be? Think deeply now about what it is that drives your consciousness, what it is that you utilize as a philosophy on life. The utilization of an ethical framework that we are afforded by a beautiful deed that teaches us to not be in pursuit of materialistic gain as what it is that's an end for us, but to understand that we are people who are a created being. You and I are created creatures, but we were made for eternal existence. And the recognition of what it is that comes beyond this world has to be understood fully in moments like this tonight. Because when you help people, it's not because they're helpless. And if Allah utilizes you as a means through which He provides shelter to His creation, food to His creation, clothes to His creation, you become means through which Allah is generous to His creation, gives strength to His creation, gives hope to His creation, loves His creation. That's going to be greater than any title or label. It's going to be greater than anything else that you can walk on the day of judgment with. May Allah make us people of Jannah. You got to be here tonight with the presence of this, pushing away any of the distractions, and to think fully right now about what it is that you actually believe in. Real conviction, real iman. And where we are invited to support the good work that our brothers and sisters are doing at IKNA Relief. This is the fulfillment of what's called the Fard Kifaya. The individual obligation, your prayer is your prayer. Your fast is your fast. You can't pray my Fajr as much as I can't pray yours. You want to do it for yourself or you don't, that's your decision. I think you should. I love you. Pray your prayers. But what we have in addition to the individual obligation is what we call the communal obligation, the Fard Kifaya. And within that, we have the quintessential example that's utilized in our books of fiqh that's of the janazah prayer. Many of you are familiar with. If somebody passes away in a community, that there's a right that they have as the deceased, that they are washed, shrouded, prayed over, and buried in accordance with Sharia. And as long as one person knows how to do that, the entire community is absolved of responsibility. But if nobody knows how to do it, then all of us bear the burden of responsibility towards that individual. Social services, meeting the needs of the underserved and underprivileged. These things fall under the Fard Kifaya. To be able to meet those needs is not just a gesture of magnanimity or generosity or you're a kind person. Our religion says you have to do it. You are obligated to be in a place where if you have means, if you have resources, if you have capacity, if you have skills and networks and credentials, you have everything needed to build and you still are not doing it, then what are you doing? And this is what they've done, and they continue to do. From a nascent stage of opening one shelter to going to a place of building now 24, mashallah. And I know these people, they're gonna keep doing it, man. They're not gonna stop or be complacent. You got people driving in the snow from Maryland, people coming up from Tennessee, people coming all the way from Texas. Why? What are they made of that they're doing that? People who are intelligent enough to go and work in the private sector, intelligent enough to go and work in corporate America. Some who did, and then they moved into this as an industry simply because they're motivated by right intentions. They're doing it because it's something that has to get done. We used to do some of these backpack drives when our Islamic Center at New York University was renting space in the basement of a church that was used as a soup kitchen. And I can still remember seeing the faces of young children coming into that building, getting this backpack filled with basic school supplies, with just immense smiles on their face. That's what it is that you're being asked to support tonight. You're giving hope to people who are quite often forgotten. We have a Prophet ﷺ who, when he gets his initial revelation and comes down that mountain from the cave of Hira, across the desert, conflicted with agitation and confusion, trying to figure out what it was that he went through. And he goes and he talks to his wife, radiallahu ta'ala anha, who absorbs every word of confusion and frustration. And when he completes it, she says to him that you are a good man. You honor the rights of guests. You treat orphans with dignity and respect. You remember the world's forgotten. This is who they knew him to be before they knew him to be a prophet. That's what he was known to be before he started preaching the message. That's what he was known to be when he was confused about what just happened on that mountain. That's who our teacher is, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And once that responsibility of revelation comes and it's now disseminating, he just gets into it more and more and more and more. It's beautiful to see what it is that IKNA Relief has accomplished. And I think it's important for all of us to understand why we have to celebrate it. I get to go to a lot of different communities, a lot of different places, and the rhetoric and narrative is always so negative. The problem with youth, this is why that masjid is terrible, this is why we don't go over there, there's this issue, there's that issue. That's a product of supremacy. That's what a system rooted in whiteness wants for your mind to be colonized on. It doesn't want you to see how you can be a source of luminosity. It doesn't want you to get on a minbar and share stories of successes. How many times do you go to a masjid and you hear people tell about the amazingness that's coming from Muslim communities? You don't have to open up a newspaper and just get that be what the basis is. But when you leave from this place, you want to go and you want to say with a sense of pride and a sense of dignity, you know what IKNA Relief is doing for people right now? When you go to your next masjid board meeting, when you go and you try to plan what Ramadan is going to be like, you shouldn't have to wait for these people to reach out to you to say, can we come? You should be somebody who is bursting with a sense of real, beautiful pride. When I go home, I'm going to tell my 6-year-old and my 9-year-old tomorrow, you know what these people are doing? It is so beautiful. You should be like them. So they have somebody to look up to. Not a reason to walk on eggshells and feel as if that everything is just going to always be terrible. Open your heart. Be fully present. You got one of these, and the time comes to decide what it is you're going to donate tonight. Don't let it stop just with you. Let it be something that you write to every single person in your phone book. Say, hey, tonight we're going to help women who have men in their life who have no idea what it means to be a man. We're going to help little children whose little hearts should never have to hold adult emotions, but they constantly hear the screams of their mother as their father engages them in a way that no woman should ever be engaged. We're going to help refugees who the rest of the world has thrown away because their skin color is the wrong complexion. But we're going to look to hearts and not just base things off of whether or not we share culture or class with somebody. We're helping tonight those that the world has forgotten. Because we are meant to be people of remembrance. We are meant to be people who we are in a state of wakefulness always. I am so grateful for IKNA Relief. In the last 15 years, there has not been a week where in the work that I've been blessed to do, I have not met at least one, if not upwards of a dozen women who are survivors of abuse. I go to communities and I see people who have no food. Whether it's iftar time or not, there's nothing to eat. Refugees trying to make sense of how to live and survive. So all you gotta do is bring a little bit of love into it. Real mahabbah. Think about what it means to fulfill purpose. So that what we get accomplished today, 10 years from now, this room is filled 5 times as many, and there's that much more that's getting done. So we're leaving it a little bit better than we found it. And with some semblance of hope, we can stand in front of our Creator and say, Ya Allah, I tried whatever I could to fulfill the purpose for which you created me. But do what it is that you can tonight to help this amazing work of IKNA Relief. Go and tell their stories to the people that you meet. Let yourself find pride in the good work that Muslims are doing. There's enough people talking about us in a negative way. You be the reason why you are spreading really the positivity that comes from us. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll be able to get done what it was that we intended to, that brought us here tonight. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and protect us. May He bless us with knowledge that benefits us. May He bless us with the tawfiq to understand and implement that knowledge into our daily lives. May He guide and bless us all. Wallahu ta'ala alim wa billahi tawfiq. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Takbir. 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 Jazakallah, thank you so much, Imam Khalid Latif, mashallah, he's done, an outstanding job talking about building bridges and crossing rivers. My respected brothers and sisters, I know we're cutting it close to the timing, inshallah ta'ala, but I have to mention something tonight. He was talking about, the refugee service and the refugees that are coming into the United States. And over the last few months, from August of last year up until now, there's so many Afghan refugees that are coming in. And subhanAllah, our local office has been so active in housing and helping in whatever way, shape, or form that they can. And this is where your zakat. And I want to specifically talk a little bit about our zakat funds. And Imam, you can mention this. Part of our program is zakat eligible, is the refugee program for the Muslim families that are coming in. The transitional house that are housing Muslim women and children, zakat eligible. Our Ramadan food box that you can sponsor for $50 a box. We did not raise the price. We were gonna. We didn't raise the price because we know how to purchase these items at wholesale cost. So we're asking you want to sponsor Ramadan food boxes? You can give your zakat money because we're going to go into your community to serve the poor and the needy within your communities. And subhanAllah, I just have to mention something about the refugees. Some of our offices have been doing and becoming now a resettlement agency, and we are doing resettlement work. And you know what? That's zakat that we are using, the zakat you are donating, we're using to house these families. My respected brothers and sisters, I'm going to call up our next speaker, inshallah, our next keynote speaker. And he's no stranger to any one of us here. Imam Saraj Wahaj, a well-known friend of IKNA Relief, Imam Saraj Wahaj, has founded Masjid Taqwa and helped to transform the neighborhood for the better. Imam Saraj is a globally recognized Islamic leader. He owes me a cup of coffee from last week. Imam Saraj Wahaj, with over 40 years of experience of sharing, reviving message that has sparked the minds and inspired the soul. His message is rooted in hope, faith, and power of redemption. Help me welcome our beloved Imam Saraj Wahaj.
So today, this is Imam Saraj's day. It was his birthday yesterday. Wow. And today he's here.
He said he was 16 going on 15.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, we're here tonight, right now, at this moment, to prove the work of IKNA Relief. I want to thank IKNA Relief for two things. Number one, letting us know what the issues are. I've come to the conclusion that when people know better, they do better. This is why the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, told us of a prophet that was beaten by his people so much that he began to bleed and he wiped the blood from his face and said, Allahumma ikfir li qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. Oh Allah, forgive my people because they do not know. Can I ask for a favor? Can you turn up the lights? I want to look at the people. I'm asking the question tonight, who are we? Who are we? Mankind. We are Johnny come lately. Everything in creation was here before man. The angels, jinn, the earth, the animals, everything. And then who is the last one? It's us. Who are we? Allah the Almighty, He give us a commandment. I've only created the jinn and the humans to worship me. Yet there are some people, some Muslims who have the audacity not to pray 5 times a day. And when a man came to the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, and the Prophet is teaching him, he said, come to salawat, 5 prayers a day. Is there more than that? No, except what is extra. And then the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, said, Siyam Shahr Ramadan, fasting in the month of Ramadan. Is anything more than that? No, except what is extra. And then zakat. Except what is extra. And the man turns around, he said, Wallahi, la azidu hada, wa la anqusu minhu. I swear by Allah, I will neither increase nor decrease. And the Prophet said, Aslaha in sadaqah. He'll be successful. Oh, wait. You don't have the right. Let's go, Yom al-Qiyamah. Every once in a while, you read Quran and Hadith, you see that the people in Jannah can see and speak to the people in the hellfire. Let me give you one example. The people in Jannah look down at the people in hellfire. What are you doing there in the hellfire? We're not those who used to make salah. Are you kidding me? Who you think you are? the one who gives you breath, food, money, all the money we have. Allah is a micromanager. If you don't believe me, read the hadith where Allah sent the angels in the womb. And the angels, they ask the question, male or female? Allah, male or female? What will this substance be? So if you have $100,000, you have $1 million, you have $1 billion, Allah gave it to you. At the same time, there are people around this earth, in this city, who have nothing. When I leave the Masjid al-Fajr, I go down Nostrand Avenue, and to my left, there's a man laying down in the street. He lives in the street. You know how many people live in the street? You know how many women don't have no shelter? Who's going to help them? Alhamdulillah for IKNA relief. Why should we give today? Why should we raise $500,000? Can I tell you why? Allah mentioned in the Quran that He created us and what we made. You want to know how much you weigh? Get on the scale. You want to know your blood pressure? You take a blood pressure. You want to know how fast the car? You look at the speedometer. What about our faith? How much faith do we have? المؤمن قوي خير وحبل الله من المؤمن الضعيف وفي كل خير. A strong believer is better, more loved by Allah than a weak believer. How do you know what kind of faith we have? How do we measure the faith? Easy. And Sheikh Khalid, he mentioned it as he was walking off. He made a major point. He said, love. Listen to what he said, alayhi salatu wasalam. لا تدخلوا الجنة حتى تؤمنوا. You will never believe until you will never enter Jannah until you believe. ولا تؤمنوا حتى تحبوا. And you will never believe until you love. Not just love. أين المتحبون بجلالي. We are those who love for my pleasure. I love the black man, the white man, the red, the yellow, all of that. Don't make a difference with me, the color. So tonight, we're going to be tested of our love. Let me tell you one incident that happened to me a year and a half ago. I'm at the airport, Newark Airport. And I was standing on the outside. I was in the wrong terminal. And a car came by. He said, you need help? I said, yes, I'm in the wrong terminal. He said, get in the car. I get in the car. He says to me, Assalamu alaikum. I'm a Muslim from Saudi Arabia. There was nothing about him to make me think he's a Muslim. He didn't have a kufi, he didn't have a beard, he didn't have a kameez. But he gave me salam. Should I return it? You bet. Raddu salam. I'm not going to judge the level of his iman. I can't do that. I give him salams. He says to me, he didn't recognize me. He didn't oh, Imam Saraj. No, he didn't recognize me, but I look like a Muslim. He said, I need your help. Me and my wife been married for years, and we never had children. Can you make dua? He will never know. For 2 weeks straight, every day I prayed all day long that Allah bless this man and his wife to have children. I won't know. قَالَ رَبُّكُمْ أُدْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Your Lord said, call upon me and I will answer. What made me pray for this man, this stranger, for 2 weeks? What makes me do that? Love. Right now, there are people waiting for shelter. We can make a difference. I believe that we will raise $500,000 in minutes. I start already. Anyone here whom Allah has blessed to make a contribution, you know what IKNA Relief has done. You know that. Anyone here to make a contribution of $25,000, I want to say this to you. A friend of mine named Yaqub from South Africa, he texted me. He said, Imam Saraj, do everything with a good heart, expecting no reward. I said, yes. I texted him back. Do everything with a good heart, expecting no reward except from Allah. Allah never tells us to do anything except He's going to give us something even better. Tonight, anyone? $25,000, you know the routine. You know what IKNA Relief has done and continue to do. Anyone? I believe that you have the ability here tonight, one, 2, maybe even 3 or 4 of you to make a contribution of $25,000. If we get that one, I think that we raise $500,000. How many of you believe that we can raise $500,000 tonight? Raise your hand if you believe that. Alhamdulillah. I'm gonna show you something. My wife is in my hand. I asked for water and they said, here, right here. I noticed this about my wife. She has 2 names for me. Sometimes she calls me Saraj. Sometimes she calls me Imam. Imam, I figured it out. Whenever she says Saraj, there's gonna be an issue. When she says Imam, it's gonna be a good day. So she said, Saraj. I said, yeah. Whenever you drink water on the stage, never drink from a bottle. Always drink from a cup. See everybody want to get the cup now? Thank you. You know what? I mean, I love you, Sheikh. I love you. But you're bad. I'm asking for $25,000. He has the audacity. Someone gave $50,000. And Allah bless you. Bless this masjid. They don't even want you to say the name. But $50,000, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them big ajr. But you know what? I still want my $25,000. I'm sorry. So yeah, let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. You gotta understand this. You know, Imam, there was a movie years ago called A Few Good Men. A Few Good Men, right? Did you know Imam Latif, do you know that the Marines have a logo? They call them the few, the brave, the Marines, the few. You see, brothers and sisters, the more you read the Quran, you see that it's a few people. وَلَكِنْ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Most of the people, they don't believe. Most of the people are not thankful. Most of the people. And when you look at the people that go to Jannah, min kulli alfin, every 1,999 in the hellfire. The few. So tonight we're asking for the few. Can I get that one person who make a commitment of $25,000? We do it quickly, brother and sister. This is a quick fundraising. Anyone? 25,000? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and every one of you. Mahmoud Alam, may Allah bless you, brother. $25,000. May Allah bless you. Best of this life and the best of the hereafter. That's $75,000. Do I have the audacity to ask for one more?
Yes, you do.
I have the audacity to ask for one more person of $25,000. That would be $100,000 right there. I believe that some of you brothers and sisters, Allah has given it to you, and you want to give it back and get the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what Allah gives us is always, always better than what we give Him. Let me tell you something. The Times Magazine every year, end of the year, they have the Person of the Year. You know the Person of the Year this year? Elon Musk. You know how much money he's worth? Imam Latif, almost as much as you have. $300 billion. No, you got $300 billion heart. $300 billion. $300 billion. Allah gave it to him. Really? Seriously. He didn't give it to me. He didn't give it to all these refugees, but Allah gave it. The question is, what you going to do? The few. A man came to the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, and said, Ya khair al-bariyya, oh best of creation. You know what our Prophet said? That's Ibrahim. That's Ibrahim. Now, I can make a compelling argument that the Prophet is the best of creation. I can give you one example. He said, alayhi salatu wasalam, I went to Jannah and knocked at the gate of Jannah, and the angel said, Man anta, who are you? Qultu, I said, Ana Muhammad. He said, because of you, I was ordered to let no one in before you. This is amazing. But the Prophet said, he said Ibrahim, so I'm saying Ibrahim. Let me give a couple examples why. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam said, Ya Sarah, laysa ala wajhi adda mu'min ghayri wa ghayruki. There's not one believer on the face of the earth other than you and me. Are you kidding me? 2 people in the entire earth, believers. Prophet Ibrahim and his wife, the few. It's the few that gives a lot of money for the case, for fi sabilillah. So can I get one more person? I just have a feeling that there's one more person here. You can give it right away. Allahu Akbar, may Allah bless you the best of this life and the best of the hereafter. Sammy. That's 4. 2 plus 2, that's 4. But you know what? The Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, said, Khamsa salawat. 5 prayers a day. So I need one more. No. There's one more. One more person to say, you know what, Allah bless me, and I want to give it fi sabilillah, and all of these people will benefit, all the food and all of this stuff, and staying in the home and all of that. So I'm going to ask one more time, one more person to say, you know what, Allah has blessed me, and I want to give. Like the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. ما سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم شيء فقال لا. He never said no. He was ajwad nas. He was the most generous. I like that one. He was the most generous. So brothers and sisters, can I get this one more? You know, I have to ask, what are the imams? Imams, I need a fact one. Can some of the imams raise their hand? Some of the imams? This looked like an imam table there. Imam, are the sisters allowed to spin? They're allowed to do? Sure. One more person, brothers and sisters. I just want that, like that odd number. If we get one more person to commit themselves to $25,000. And I'm saying to you, we are very grateful, and we really appreciate your kindness and your generosity. So can I get one more brother or sister who commit themselves to $25,000? A few seconds. Okay. So I'm thinking, Sheikh, how many 10s do you think we can get?
20.
20? How many do you think we really can get? You think so? Okay. Let's do this, brothers and sisters. Let's see how many people can give $10,000, want to give back what Allah has given us. How many show their love for these people that we don't even know? We don't know them. How many will make a commitment of $10,000 tonight? Let me count. MashaAllah. May Allah bless you, Sheikh. The best of this life and the best of the hereafter. Wahid. 1. Good. Number 2, may Allah bless you, the best of this life and the best of the hereafter. Say Ameen. It's name. $10,000. $10,000, brothers and sisters. This is a quickie. I don't have to tell you about IKNA relief and all the work I've done.
One more 25,000, no need.
One more what?
25,000.
Allahu Akbar, one more. $25,000. No name. But I got a problem. That brother calls me a problem, or that sister calls me a problem. Yeah, that problem. That's no name. That last one caused me a problem. You got the fifth 25,000, right? I want to ask you a question. You know, I used to be Christian, right? I found a verse in the Bible, the same in the Quran. Allah created the heavens and earth in how many days? How many days? 6. How you stop at 5 if Allah created the heaven and earth in 6 days? So I need one more 25,000. I love you, but I'm gonna need one more 20. If you start thinking about it, I'm gonna need one more 25,000. That'll be 6 people with 25,000. So that's how many 10,000 ready? That's 3. Alhamdulillah, number 4, anonymous. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. MashaAllah. MashaAllah, subhanAllah. Look at this. This is cash from the IKNA sisters. Are you ready? $20,000. Allah Akbar. So what I'm gonna do, somebody gonna give me a 5, and that'll be $25,000. And that'll be how many? 6. But we got a problem. The Prophet ﷺ said, 7 will be shaded by Allah on the day when there's no shade except His shade. How you gonna stop at 6? So I'm gonna leave one more. Just one more. One more person, $25,000. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him. All right, 10,000, we got 4. Who else? Princesses, don't wait, don't hesitate. MashaAllah. No name! I see this person at every fundraiser. No name, anonymous. $20,000. So we're gonna get another 5 with that, and that's gonna be 7. But we got another problem. How many gates to Jannah? Huh? How many? Don't be afraid now. Don't be scared all of a sudden. How many gates to Jannah? 8. How you stop at 7? How many gates to hell? 7. So I need one more. I need one more person say, you know what? Allah's giving it to me. Wallahi, you know, Imam Latif, I asked you before, I think. You know my major was at New York University? Yeah, I was a math major now. So when I first became Muslim, and they found out that I majored in mathematics, they said, oh, you want to be a good Muslim because mathematics is Islam, and Islam is mathematics, right? So I know mathematics. When I heard something that the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, I said, wow. You hear it every fundraiser. Wealth is never decreased by giving sadaqah. The Prophet swore by it. Wallahi, I bear witness. It's true. Your wealth is never diminished by giving sadaqah. So don't forget, we're looking for one more person at $25,000. MashaAllah. Where's table number 7? What's table number 7?
Young Muslims.
Young Muslims, table number 7. Where are you? Oh yeah, listen man, I love you. I'm gonna come give you a kiss after the pandemic. May Allah bless you, young Muslims, $10,000. May Allah bless you, best of this life and best of the hereafter. Tell me, how many tens is that? How many tens is that?
5.
That's 5 tens? Okay, brothers and sisters, I'm looking for one more $25,000 and you know what, this is unbelievable, man. May Allah bless it. $20,000. May Allah bless you the best of this life and the best of the hereafter. Say amen. So I'm going to put another 5 with that, and that's going to be how many? 8. Have you ever read the Quran? Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was given signs by Allah. How many signs was Musa given? 9. How you gonna stop at 8? So I'm gonna need one more $25,000, inshallah. Remember, brothers and sisters, this is wonderful to see the faces. I've been to the shelters and I've seen the faces of those who came to the shelter and have nowhere to go. And I've seen in the faces of people have no food to eat and being fed by IKNA relief. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. How many 10,000s we have? Let's do it quickly, brothers and sisters. Don't announce the name, mashallah. $10,000. May Allah bless him the best of his life and the best of the hereafter. Say Ameen. Oh, it's up there. How many is that? Total so far?
235.
235? 235. Okay, good. So, my sisters, we're moving quickly. You've been very patient. I just want to see if anyone. What's table 23? Table 23. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khairan. How much? $10,000. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khairan. And brothers and sisters, you are very, very, very generous. And again, we just thank IKNA Relief over and over again. MashaAllah. Can I name the masjid? I can't even name the masjid. Masjid in Manhattan, $20,000. I want you to imagine that the fuel. The Muslim Ummah, a small percentage of them live in non-Muslim countries. You find them in America, you find them in Great Britain, you find them in France, you find them all over the world. And these Muslims here in this country right now have a major job, a major responsibility. Right now, the world is troubled. I don't know if you've been following what's happening in Australia. Okay. They're having some major problems with flooding. 2 years ago, they had a fire that caused the death of some 3 billion animals, death and displacement. And you know what? People are looking for answers. People are looking for answers, and we have the answers. The fuel, we have the answers. But the question, will we stand up? We standing up tonight. No name, $17,000. MashaAllah, may Allah bless him, the best of his life and the best of the hereafter. $10,000. MashaAllah, may Allah bless you. This is unbelievable. It's the 17 is done, yeah? And here's another 10,000, inshallah. MashaAllah. So brothers and sisters, I'm proud of us, the few. 1/3 of the Muslim Ummah, 1/3 live in non-Muslim countries. We have to be examples. Imam, there was a woman, a church avenue in Utica. One day I went over there and she's sitting down, an old lady sitting in the chair, she had a cup. And she didn't ask nobody, but I went and I put $20 in the cup. And she said, thank you. Then she sold up, oh, thank you. So then I came back the next week, same thing, put money in the cup until I began to talk to her, have a relation, talking to her, learned about, she's from Jamaica, granddaughter in the hospital, connected up with my wife, and so forth and so on, make dua and also help them. A non-Muslim, alhamdulillah, a non-Muslim. And you know what, the appreciation, thank you so much, mashallah. This is unbelievable. Alhamdulillah. I don't know if I should say the name, Dr. Q, alhamdulillah, $10,000. May Allah bless you, Dr. Q. Alhamdulillah, we have Kafil, looks like Kafil, $10,000. SubhanAllah. May Allah bless you, brothers and sisters, and keep the money coming. I just think that we can get, how many tens was that so far? How many tens was that so far? How many tens was that?
How many tens, Omar? We lost the count.
Imam, what happened to my they're gonna ask them. I can't drink this. ICNA, mashallah, $10,000. May Allah continue to bless that community who give over and over and over and over again. Jazakallah khairan, $10,000. We over $300,000 already, alhamdulillah. Last call, anyone else, 10,000? Now you're gonna bum rush me. Imam, they're gonna bum rush me now. How many of you make a commitment? How you doing? Give me some money. All right. Now let me know how many fives you want. Leave it up to you. How many fives? 25? SubhanAllah. 25. You got no mercy, you know. Alhamdulillah, I want to thank Dr. Alhamdulillah, $5,000. Brothers and sisters, I don't want you to think that this is something little. This is something very big. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives big reward. Even the life of even an animal. Yes. Thank you so much. Is this from you? This is from you? Hmm? Yeah. This young man, how old are you? 6. You got a job? You have a job? Well, he ain't got no job. Wait. He ain't got no job, but $10,000. Thank you. Inshallah, may Allah bless you the best of his life and the best of the hereafter. I mean, that's just. Allah says in the Quran, من جاء بالحسنات فله عشر أمثالها. Whoever brings a good deed will have 10. So I need one more. I need one more 10,000. We almost there. $5,000, brothers and sisters. Okay, again. Dr. Aslam Gunman, alhamdulillah, $5,000. Brother, may Allah bless you and your family. Jazakallah khairan. May Allah continue to give you ajr, inshallah. Now, brothers and sisters, let me say something to you. Please be careful of what you eat. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I don't know if you know Dr. Niazi, right? He's a cardiologist. He saw me one day. He said, Imam Saraj! I said, what? He said, Muslims, we have 3 enemies. I said, yeah. He said, sugar is our enemy. Now I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, do not be like the brothers and sisters from Sudan. They never put sugar in their coffee. They put coffee in their sugar. So number one, sugar. Number 2, he said salt. Be careful, hypertension, high blood pressure. You gotta be careful. And the third one I'm not gonna mention unless you ask me. Don't say the third one. You don't wanna hear the third one? You're nervous. Imam, I want you to say it, but don't say it. The third one is bread. No, wait. You can eat bread, but let's do it in moderation. Bread turns into sugar. If we have to be careful of the food that we put in our mouth, you have to be extra careful of the food that we put in our brains. Let me tell you why. You know, how many of you ever heard of Shakespeare? Can I give you a little bit of Shakespeare? Sometimes when you listen to an artist, sometimes embedded in his message, poetry, movie, song, embedded it is his message. I'm gonna give you an example of Shakespeare. Now this is Macbeth. Macbeth's wife just died, and listen to what he said. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and is heard no more. It's a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Did you hear that? It's a tale told by an idiot? Life is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing? So you got to be careful of what you listen to. You hear the rhythmic beat, but you don't know the message. So brothers and sisters, be very careful. Read the Quran over and over again. Alhamdulillah, Ramadan is coming. $5,000, no name. MashaAllah. $8,000. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. I can say the name? Yeah, Albany Pharmacy. Alhamdulillah, $8,000. Thank you so much. Brothers and sisters, you have Allahu Akbar. Imam, a sister, because of your fatwa, a sister, $5,000. Sister, thank you so much. No name. I did. Yeah, I did. Okay, good. Shelter Rock Islamic Center, yeah, I know that masjid, alhamdulillah. And also Shelter Rock, two Chakiri, same, okay. One 3,500, one 1,600. Alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Brothers and sisters, the money is coming fast and furious. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Don't stop.
Cable 31,500. Cable 31,500. Happy pack.
What table? Right here?
Yeah.
Right here? This table? Thank you so much. May Allah bless you. Alhamdulillah. That is $5,000. Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah. Here you go. Okay. You don't want to embarrass her. But alhamdulillah, we have a sister here, alhamdulillah, she's not Muslim. She donated $1,000. Southwest Hospital.
Sister, you here?
Southwest Hospital? Yeah, good. Sister, thank you so much. We so much appreciate it. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah. But then, it looks like Nadine Kirmani, mashallah. You know, I was like, you know, we have numbers like this, $7,200. Mashallah, may Allah bless you. At the hero, $5,000. SubhanAllah, the brothers and sisters, the money's coming in, and all I can say is we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Help you one another in righteousness. What I don't know how you do the taqwa. That's what we're doing. We're helping each other in righteousness and fear of Allah. I want to tell you something that happened. Imam Latif, you may have heard something about this. In 1988, a Wednesday night, I'm in my office. We just had an aqiqah, and I'm preparing my football for Friday. One of the brothers said, Imam, there's someone here to see you. I said, send him in. A brother from Palestine named Mahir. We don't know him. He said, Imam Saraj, he was crying. He said, you know, some drug dealers took over my building and took one of the apartments. And I went to the police, and the police couldn't help. Can you help me? And I said to myself, I know the topic, but I was preparing, help you one another. And I said to myself, I'm going to do one or two things. I said, if I don't help him, I'm not going to teach that football. But if I'm going to help him, I'm going to teach that football. Alhamdulillah, we took about 23 brothers, Allah's my witness, and we knocked on the door. So who is it? I said, it's the Muslims, and we come to take back the apartment of our brother. The head of the drug dealers, I heard him speaking to the other people. He said, listen, it's the Muslims, don't do anything stupid. And they came out, and they gave the apartment back to the brother. I'm not suggesting that you do that. That's not my point. My point is that we are called upon to help one another in the way that we can, according to our ability. And I want to thank all of you tonight. I'm going to take another few minutes and ask for $5,000. All those who would give $5,000, you raise your hand. A number of you have given it already. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Alhamdulillah, no name, $5,000. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Again, $4,000. Alhamdulillah, no name. Hillside Islamic Center. Alhamdulillah, where are they? Hillside, where's Hillside? Alhamdulillah, $5,000. Alhamdulillah. Muhammad, who has the handwriting of a doctor. I love you, Muhammad. $5,000. Alhamdulillah. Barbara, $5,000. Alhamdulillah. Barbara. Okay. So what's the Is it Jamie Masjid? Jamie Masjid, Belmore, alhamdulillah. And the board members, mashallah, $3,000. You can move that out. And another, alhamdulillah, the board members, $1,000 and $1,000, alhamdulillah. So now, brothers and sisters, we're going to do, close that. What's the figure so far? 4-9. Okay, good. Let's do this, man. Let's do this. Let's see if we can get 11 people who commit themselves to $1,000. I'm number one. Let me see your hands. $1,000. I know you're going to give me the 10s and the 5s. But anyone here want to make 2, 3, 4, 5? Good, 5. Now that's going to cost you. Whenever Imam Saraj is asking for money, don't start scratching your head. That's going to cost you. I'm letting you know I'm going to come get my $1,000. Anyone else? 1,000? Alhamdulillah. 5, 6. Good. Another 1,000. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Faisal Mustaq. Alhamdulillah. $5,000. $5,000, no name. $5,000, no name. Say the name again. Paints and banners, $5,000. MashaAllah. Yarwa, $5,000. This is unbelievable, man. This is. Say Lutfullah, MashaAllah, $3,000. Alhamdulillah. Islamic Association of Long Island, Alhamdulillah, $2,500. IKNA Flushing Unit, $500, SubhanAllah. East Meadow Sisters, $1,100, SubhanAllah. Ayat Siddiq, Alhamdulillah, $2,000. Bushra, Alhamdulillah, $500. Hussein, Neurology, Alhamdulillah, $1,000. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, bless you, $200. May Allah reward you and give you unbelievable returns on your investment. Alhamdulillah. Brothers and sisters, you've made a lot of people happy tonight. MashaAllah. Limbs. Long Island Society, Alhamdulillah, $3,000. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, $1,000, MashaAllah. Same organization. So, brothers and sisters, we have 475,000, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you. I'm very, very happy. So they will continue to give. We're going to stop now, but don't stop giving, inshallah. They'll still count. I want to our Turkish family in the back, inshallah, $6,000. I want to let you know that, inshallah, tomorrow I'm flying to Turkey to meet with the president. So, Jazakallah khair, thank you so much. Mr. Rahman, $3,000. 3,000 Rajas, Sadiq, alhamdulillah, $3,000. So, inshallah, we get to 5,000, I'm sure of it. Mr. Noah, $2,000. So, the money is still coming in. So, may Allah bless you. We won't let you go. Again, Khalid Bey, Bey, $2,000. Dr. Muslim, $1,000. And Wahab, $1,000. Dr. Anam, please forgive me for mispronunciation. Pronouncing your name, $1,000. Pervez, mashallah, $1,000. Ahmed, $3,000. $2,500. Waqar, alhamdulillah. No name, $2,000. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much. You did a wonderful job. Professor has $2,000. May Allah bless you. You're wonderful. I love you. I want to tell everybody what you did tonight. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Alhamdulillah. And see the money keep coming in. $1,000. Looks like Sadat Rashad. Alhamdulillah, $200. Hamid Rahman. Alhamdulillah. Muslim Mubin, $1,000. No name, $1,200. No name, $2,000. No name, $5,000. No name, $1,000. Dr. Shejad, $500. Alhamdulillah. Dr. Asif, $1,000. So, what? Are you kidding me? 498,220? Are you kidding me? Okay, who wants to take the balance to make it to 500,000? Who wants to take the balance? How much is that? 1,700? No way. Huh? Hold on. Is this part of it? Is this part of that? It's not counted yet. No, it's there. You got it. May Allah bless you over $500,000. 73,000. I'm done.
So money, $10,000. Just came. APAG, APGA, $5,000. We have Brother Salman, $500. We have Sayyid Fahad Kamal, $550.
Jazakallah khair. Takbir. 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 Just to let you know, we do have the credit card machines. You want to write down more pledges, that's okay, I will take them. The rest residual I'm taking back in Atlanta, right, Arshad Bhai? That's the deal we got. But those of you who would like to donate more, inshallah, don't let it stop there. Whatever you can donate, $500, $100, $50, $25, you want to do it on a monthly recurrent basis, you can do it. Imam, you know, this is what I say. $1,000 is nothing for us. You know why? We go to Walmart, listen to this, right? To spend the money we don't have, to buy the things we don't want, to impress the people we don't like. $1,000 out the door, isn't it? So those of you who are here tonight, you want to make a contribution, you can do it monthly, you can do it, you know, however you want to do it, inshallah. Write it down. We also have 2 checks came in, one for $250. We have Aslam Day, and we have American Pakistani Education Fund Foundation for $1,000. So all of this, mashallah ta'ala, you know, this is great. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward. And those of you who wants to sponsor the Ramadan food box, those of you who want to sponsor the Ramadan food box, remember it's $50 a box, and it's going to the poor and needy families that are in need. Inshallah, to move along with our program, but Imam, you know you did all of that. You did all of that, and that was beautiful. I gotta make a dua for those people who donated tonight. You know which dua it is, right?
Yes, sir. No.
So I'm going to make a dua for all of those who have donated tonight. And this dua is a dua from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما من يوم يصبح العباد فيه إلا ملكان ينزلان. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated this hadith, and he said that there is not a day upon which the servant of Allah is awakened except 2 angels comes. Except 2 angels comes. فَيَقُولُ أَحَدُهُمَا. One of the angels will say, every day, just imagine, when we wake up, there is 2 angels that descends next to us, and these 2 angels are having this conversation. One of them says, Allahumma a'ati munfiqan khalafan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repays the one who spends in charity today. And this is the dua that I am going to make for each and every one of you. Allahumma a'ati munfiqan khalafan. Say Ameen. 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 Imam, should I tell them what the other angel says, or should I hold back? Tell them.
$2,000 was the brother he gave. He don't want to mention his name, but his company is gonna match it for more 2,000. Yeah, so it is basically 4,000. And anybody who is here and their company matches, you can let your company know so that whatever you gave today, your company is gonna match it.
It's called matching fund donation. Allahumma a'ati munfiqan khalaf. So Imam said to continue the hadith. I like to stop at there because I like to be positive. Okay. Yeah. So the other angel said, Subhan Imam, they just don't stop. 10,000? 10,000. City Health Care, United Urgent Care. This is a sadaqatul jariyah for the parents. $10,000, sadaqatul jariyah. Allahu Akbar. Allahumma a'ti munfiqan khalafan. Say Ameen. The food is coming, mashallah. The other angel says, فَيَقُولُ آخَرُونَ. فَيَقُولُ الْآخَرُونَ. The other angel saying, Allahumma a'ti munfiqan talafan. The other angel makes this dua. Don't fall under the category of the second angel. Fall under the category of the first angel. The second angel says, may Allah destroy the one who withholds in charity. Imam told me to say that, by the way. So, you want to have him speak a good Imam. My brothers and sisters, to move along with the program, inshallah ta'ala, we have some recognition awards, some community recognition award tonight that we would like to recognize some community members, some organizations, and individuals, inshallah ta'ala. So we have Brother Arshad Jamal, we have some of the awards. The first one I'm going to call on is Al Rayyan Funeral Home. And at the height of the pandemic, Al Rayyan Funeral Home were performing mass burial and fulfilling the rights of Muslims by performing the husn. So do we have any individuals here that can receive this? Just to let you know, in the past 4 years, our partnership with them has been able to bury unclaimed amounts of bodies, as well as free services for those who cannot afford. Muslim, non-Muslim family that reached out to us. So we have Dr. Mohsin Ansari, who's going to be giving the award, inshallah, to Al Rayyan Funeral Home. Takbir, takbir, takbir. Just to let you know about the funeral service, it's a unique program here in New York, in this state, subhanAllah. I don't want to take too much of time, but I have to mention this. I received a call in Georgia. This was, probably was in December or something like that. December, I received a call in Georgia that there was a Muslim lady that passed away. Now, she wanted to go back home to bury. Now, I received this call from a family friend here in New York City. She said, look, this is a Muslim family, and she died here. She had no family, no relatives, nobody here to bury her, nothing, no arrangements. And I called Muawiz, I said, look, here is the situation. He took the call, he contacted the family, and there were some Jewish neighbors of hers that spoke to Muawiz, and subhanAllah, we were able to take care of her entire funeral costs, and she was buried locally here. And this is what's unique about this service in New York. Your donation goes towards the service. Al Rayyan, we'd like to invite you, inshallah. We'd like to invite you to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much. I really appreciate IKNA. IKNA is always first in the community service wherever we need. IKNA comes, show their face. I would like to also thank some of the mosques in pandemic because Al Rayyan is not the only one. This whole community participate in the pandemic, especially ICL Masjid, Brother Habib, and then I would like to thank especially MDQ, Masjid Darul Quran, Imam Ajmal. Let me tell you one thing about MDQ. If MDQ doesn't provide us the grave in a Pineland Memorial, we will not finish those burial because of the Washington Memorial Park is delayed at least 1.5 weeks. So really appreciated MDQ, especially Imam Majmur Sahab, whenever I call him, and they are for me every time. Thank you very much.
Next, inshallah, we have the Pakistani American Youth Organization. Pakistani American Youth Organization is a rising star of the community, helping to empower the youth and going beyond their means to serve the community. In a time of great need, they did not hesitate to address the growing need in food insecurity, establish an after-school program that's always working towards the betterment of the community, inshallah.
I will just Sarfraz bhai, if you could come.
तकबीर तो बोलो आप तकबीर एक सेकंड
The next, inshallah, we have Masjid Saldeen. Masjid Saldeen is a respected partner and an icon. Is a respected partner and an icon of the community surrounding them. They have been a supporter and an ally working alongside ICNA through the pandemic and various programs such as back to school, health fairs, and Ramadan food drives. So if we have any representative from Masjid Saldeen, inshallah.
Brother Khurshid Anwar from Selden Masjid, please.
Brother Khurshid Anwar.
I will request Shahid Bhai from ICNA. Rashid Bhai, sorry. The team from Selden Masjid.
I know who you're talking about.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I was told to talk something about the Selden Masjid, but I'm not going to talk much about Selden Masjid because our masjid do all other stuff that any other masjid do. There's nothing, the only two services we perform is we provide pantry services, we provide food services to anything in a Suffolk County. And we also have a food service, a funeral home. But I'm going to, if I talk 1 more minute, okay. I got very jealous after I heard the Bayan of Brother Imam Saraj. I just didn't feel that he can just walk away, he come in, he was able to convince people to give in the path of Allah and give charity. And he's going to walk with all that blessing. So I'm going to talk something in the same line. Today we talk about everything about giving and charity. It's about giving here and giving there. I'm going to talk about something slightly different in 1 minute, very quick. The way I look at giving money to other people, today I'm going to talk about something that's slightly different. I look at it, giving money is more like an investment. I'm going to talk about the investment that no one can take away from you. The investment that when you leave this world, that investment will go with you. And that's the investment that will never decrease in funds. That investment will multiply beyond our imagination. Okay, and we all know what that investment is. My mother used to tell me a story about it. I'm going to share it with you. You're not going to take all the blessings of it, right? I'm going to convince the people. Maybe 500,000, maybe 100,000, maybe $1,000. Okay, so my mother used to tell me the story. When the angel of death comes to you, the person, they will come back and they'll say, yeah, I need that 2 seconds of my life. But the angel will tell you, no, your time is over. All the money, all the investment you have, it's not yours anymore. It belongs to the people who your family members. So this is the opportunity in West. This is the investment that go with you. And I will give you an example of that investment. When you do investment, when you go to stockbroker, they give you example. Invest in a diversified, right? You can invest where in a different fund. I don't, right now, obviously there's a lot of funds, but I'm going to give you one fund today, and that one fund is IKNA. If you want to diversify your investment, this is the place where you can donate your money. These are the people, I just found out a lot of services they're doing. They donate for the food services. They help the orphanage. They help the charities. Okay? They help schools. They help with the food pantry. So there is no better diversified investment, and there is no better stock that you can invest. And this is the stock that will go with you. No one can take the stock away from you, and no one can, no matter what happens, this is the stock you take with your grave. Thank you for letting me talk for 1 minute.
The next, inshallah, we would like to recognize Mr. Rahman. Mr. Rahman's mission to help serve the community, aligned with ICNA Relief. Together, we have increased food distribution with hope to collaborate in future endeavors. So we have our brother from Guyana, mashallah, and I'm very proud to call them up so that they can receive this award.
Farhan bhai, if you Mufti Farhan, this is team of Masjid Ar-Rahman. You can please.
I'll take more than that. One day I'll be done. I would say,
Inshallah, next I would like to introduce someone. I would like to recognize someone who is very special within our community. I would like to introduce someone, Brother Saad Anwar, Dr. Saad Anwar. He is the state senator, and unfortunately he could not be here in person. However, he did a video for us, inshallah. Just to give you a background of the state senator, Saad Anwar. He was first elected to the Senate in February 2019. He was first elected to public office in 2011 as a member town council and has served two-term mayor. Dr. Saad Anwar, a Pakistani-American medical doctor with specialization in treating lung disease and critical care medicine, occupational and environmental medicine at Manchester Memorial Hospital, invented setting connection modus in the US that allowed 7 patients to be ventilated at one time. So he was the one who patented a device that 7 people can receive oxygen off of the ventilator, and this became something for the United States government that they were able to use during the pandemic. So let's go ahead and run this video, inshallah ta'ala. And this here is the parade that they were doing just to show recognition to him for what he has done during the pandemic. And the city officials, they were parading the patrol cars and stuff in front of his house. SubhanAllah.